Thanks, Rob. We're excited about John and Ryan. Ryan is someone that we've recruited for a long time and really feel like he, fits what we want in that point guard position with his ability to push the basketball, see the floor, run a team, elite leadership skills without a question, and I think really fits the pace of play that we'd like to play with. John, our relationship with him was a little bit shorter, but we're really impressed as we dug into it more. His ability to shoot the basketball, plays on a great high school team in Seattle, and was able to watch some film from him in the spring, late in the spring into the summer for some AAU stuff that he was able to do on the West Coast, and was really impressed with his development even from his junior season. So, we're excited about those two, and obviously recruiting's an ongoing thing, and we're still involved with a few more guys, and hopeful that we can add to that class before this period ends.
All right, we'll start with questions, starting with John Bishop, and then when he's done, we'll go to John Niatala.
Matt, good afternoon. Talk a little bit about the body types. John's 6'4", Ryan's 6'1", about same size as Marcus. Just how do you like them in terms of how their body types fit with what you want?
No, I think it's perfect. Ryan is he can get stronger, but he's got a great build, and just doesn't get tired. He's an Energizer bunny out there the way that he plays. And I remember watching him this is probably 2 or 3 years ago at Peach Jam, probably between I don't know if he was a freshman or entering his sophomore year at the time. And I remember watching him play and telling Coach Huss, like, that little guy's incredible. And, the thought then that his brother was headed to Florida and that was going to be a tough situation to beat out. But the way things turned out, his brother ended up leaving Florida, and Ryan's recruitment was pretty wide open. So, we're excited to have him. And then, John's really put together. He's really worked hard on his body. Strength and conditioning is really important to him. And he's, both guys are gym rats, and they really fit, I think, the culture that we have here. Guys that want to be in the gym, guys that want to get better, and these two certainly fit that mold.
Niatala?
Yeah, Greg, with John, as you noted, I guess first off, did you get a chance to watch him play in person at all, or was it all film evaluation?
John was all film evaluation. I think Coach Huss had seen him in the past. And, he had a pretty significant injury in high school that knocked him out and, slowed his progress. But his work ethic is incredible. And, I hadn't seen Alex O'Connell in person. I hadn't seen Rati in person. And now we can add John to that list of guys that are on our team that not only have I never seen him play in person, I've never met him face to face. So it's kind of unique times that we're living in right now.
Yeah, 2020, it's wild. Well, can you break it down for us? How does that process go? I mean, I'm sure it's really intricate, but like when you're looking at film, how do you know whether this guy actually can shoot? Like, this is legit. What do you look for in terms of identifying that skill set that you need from a shooter?
Well, I mean, first of all, numbers don't lie. So some of his shooting percentages in AAU, and John shot over 45% from the 3-point line in high school. So those things, they speak the truth. But then you just have to trust your eye, and obviously we have a lot of relationships with people in the business that their opinion is an opinion that we really trust. And in these times more than ever, you have to rely on some of those people in terms of making sure that what you're seeing on film is what you think you're seeing on film, and that you aren't getting tricked by something. And then it comes down to the Zoom calls and the phone calls and the FaceTime calls, and just trying to develop a relationship the best you can virtually, because we don't really have any other choice. Now, John and his dad did make a trip to Omaha. They did a admissions tour of campus, so they were able at least to walk around campus and get a feel for our campus. They were able to walk through our facility when we weren't here, so at least he got a sense of what Omaha was like. Ryan has never been here, and we're hopeful that when this recruiting opens back up, that we can get those guys here on an official visit.
All right, next we'll go to Joe Nugent from Channel 6.
Hey, Mac, I just want to ask you about the tournament up in Sioux Falls, changing subject for a moment. We've obviously seen a couple teams in there change their plans. There hasn't been any rumor or any noise about, Creighton. So do you guys feel like you're as locked in as you can be locked in with anything this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it at all. The reality of it is, Sanford Health is running the event. They're behind it. And their medical protocols are as thorough as any that I've seen. And I feel like there isn't a safer place on the planet than what they've put together, bringing 8 teams together, really, renting out a hotel that'll be on total shutdown. All of our meals will be delivered individually, packaged and delivered. During the time that we're there, we're testing every single day, as is every other team. And if somebody tests positive, that team goes home. So it's pretty simple. So, I feel like it's as safe a place to play as there is of any of the MTEs in the country, because Sanford Health is behind it and running it. So, there's been some, obviously the cases are higher in South Dakota, and I think that has triggered some things in different states across the country. I think Ohio was one of those where there was going to be a possible quarantine on a return from South Dakota. And I think that was part of the driving factor for Ohio State and Dayton to pull out. But they've been replaced by St. Mary's and Utah State, 2 really good teams. So, there's 8 really good teams in this tournament. So it's going to be a great preseason tournament and an opportunity for us to get 3 quality games.
All right, next we'll go to Andy Kendi with Channel 7.
Hey, Mac, kind of building off that, you talked to us a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago about being the ability to, and I'm paraphrasing, you said something like the ability to adapt and adjust the best and as compared to other schools. How, as we get closer to the games and, just as you've seen guys or teams pull out of tournaments, how important will that be for you guys to move forward and be at your best when games could change at a moment's notice?
Well, I mean, part of it, Andy, is you have to be prepared not to be at your best, because there's a chance you're going to play games without a player or 2 players, and you're going to have to figure that out. Or you're going to play a game with somebody that's just coming out of isolation or quarantine, and they've had very limited practice time. And how do you get them back into your rotation, get them ready to play in a way that's safe for them, but yet pushing them enough that you're allowing them to be effective once they take the floor. So there's a lot of challenges that as a coaching staff we've never dealt with before. Add to that the 2 ACL injuries last week, and obviously that's a devastating blow to those 2 young guys, being as far away from home as they are, to have to go through that process. But it's certainly a hit to our depth. That was something that I thought could have been a strength for us this year, and obviously that's taken a serious hit. But we're going to have to continue, because there's going to be shutdowns, there's going to be disruptions, there's going to be games that we expect to play and our opponent isn't going to be able to play. There's going to be games that we're probably going to have to bail on because of our roster situation that particular week, and we're just going to have to roll with it. You're seeing it in college football, and I think you're going to see it even more in college basketball.
All right, next we'll go to Eric Olson from the Associated Press.
Hey, Mac, I just wanted to see are you guys embracing the national ranking that you guys are coming into the season with?
There's so much stuff going on. We haven't really even talked about that. We've got enough other issues that we have to deal with. It's nice. And as I've said before, usually, rankings, whether they're preseason conference rankings or national rankings, they're based off what you did last year. And that's why we were picked 7th a year ago in the Big East. And, we want to share the Big East. So we're getting a little more respect moving into this year. But it's a new team. The dynamics of the locker room are different, and now you add to it a pandemic, and trying to figure out how to put your best foot forward is going to be a challenge throughout the season. So, it's a nice feather in the cap for our program. It's the highest ranking in our history preseason, and we've had a lot of guys put a lot of hard work into making that happen. So I'm just hopeful that things stay normal enough that we can live up to it.
Have you guys a couple? Oh, Go ahead, Eric.
I was just gonna ask a follow-up. Have you guys been able to stay away from the COVID?
I mean, not totally. I think everybody's been hit by it to a certain extent. I would say that, you know, our percentage is probably better than most. But you roll with it and deal with it. And, you know, right now we're being tested a couple times a week. And, you know, the night that we're waiting for the test results to come back just gives me another reason to have a sleepless night. But you know, people that are coming down with the virus, you know, I think a few months ago, most times you could pinpoint, you know, the person that you were around that ended up testing positive, and that's probably where I got it. I'm seeing it more and more now where people have no idea, you know, where they possibly contracted the disease. So, you know, I think that's going to be normal as the temperatures turn colder and we get driven inside a little bit more. I just think it's going to show up like the cold and the flu does. People aren't going to know where they got it from, and we're just going to have to deal with it. You know, whether it's an isolation or a quarantine situation, we're going to have to navigate our way through that.
Got time for one more question each from John Bishop, and then Joe, and then Andy.
Mac, on the protocols, are you going to assign like a point person or someone to kind of go over all the details of, you know, the Big East rules, all the things that you have to go over, and then kind of what do you know about the protocols at this point, and how many players would be out before you would have to call a game?
You know, and John, I think those are things that are in motion, that are constantly changing. But, you know, we'll make sure we have a good understanding of what we have to do. You know, some of what the NCAA says, and frankly, I think some of what the Big East will put into place, I think will be recommendations, not necessarily requirements. And, you know, some of the quarantine situations are really up to contact tracing in your local counties. And, you know, those are the people that we have to make sure that we're falling in line with what they say, and the way that, you know, make sure we're doing things in a way that they think are the right way to protect our student athletes and our coaches, and really that whole tier 1 group that has contact with those student athletes every day. But, you know, we're still wearing masks for practice. I think we will continue to do that, you know, right up to when we start playing games. I think it's the safest way to try to protect guys. But, you know, it's going to be a challenge, John. And, you know, there's a whole, you know, there's states that require quarantine that we have to play in. So there are going to be protocols, and we're going to have to get some exemptions and work on all that before we take a team to Rhode Island or New Jersey. So, and who knows what that's going to look like a month from now compared to now. So, you know, it's really a moving target right now, and it's going to be a full-time job just trying to keep up with what we're going to have to do to play some of these games.
We'll do one last question with Andy Kennedy.
Hey, Mac, just like you said, adapting, but the news coming out about not having fans, at least initially at home games, I know that probably hits you hard, but that's just one of the realities. How will that hit your guys in terms of running out to the CHI Health Center and not having any fans rooting you on?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different. There's no question. And I feel for our guys. I feel for our fans, because obviously, you know, our program is what it is in large part because of our fan base and the consistent support that they've had for us through good times and bad. Now, my hope is, and part of the reason, you know, we're being conservative to start, is to make sure we have protocols in place that we're confident and comfortable with, so that when we begin to allow fans, that we can protect the safety of the student athletes and everybody involved in the game management to start with, but then also provide an environment for our fans that are going to come to the game that's an environment they're comfortable with and they feel safe in. So, you know, you start small and you make sure that you're checking all the boxes that you need to check to make it an event that can be an enjoyable, but at the same time be safe. And then you add some people to that, and hopefully we can prove that we can do it with a few more people. And as the season goes on, hopefully this virus slows down a little and we can add more people. But certainly I was part of some of the conversations with Bruce and Butch and Adrian Dahl, and, you know, very difficult decision to come to that decision because our fans are such an important part. You know, we're connected at the hip with our fans at Creighton, unlike a lot of places in the country, because they mean so much to us, and they're such a big part of the success of our program.
All right, thank you for your time, Coach. We will have Coach Booth here shortly.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.